The limits of self-optimization. Good morning. Today, we meet a writer who looked at the promise running through nearly every idea in this series. Master this skill and you will finally get everything under control. And called it, gently but firmly, a lie. Here is the number that gives today's talk its name. If you live to be 80, you will have had roughly 4,000 weeks on this earth. Not 4,000 years. We arrive in 2021 with Oliver Burkeman, a British journalist who spent years writing a popular psychology column built on testing productivity systems and self-help techniques. After years inside that world, he arrived at an uncomfortable realization. The more efficiently he organized his time, the more overwhelmed and anxious he actually felt. That realization became his book, 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals. Burkeman wasn't rejecting the productivity tradition outright. He was asking a harder question underneath it. What if the goal of every fully getting on top of your life was itself the problem? Burkeman's central claim was that modern productivity culture is built on a flawed premise, that with the right system, you can eventually clear your plate and achieve comprehensive control over a finite life. He argued this is structurally impossible because a finite human life cannot contain every worthwhile opportunity available to it. He proposed alternative with radical finitude, generally accepting that you will never do everything or become everything you might have become, and using that acceptance as the actual foundation for a meaningful life, consciously, deliberately choosing what matters most, precisely because you cannot have it all. Psychologically, Burkeman drew on existentialist philosophy, particularly Heidegger's concept of being toward death, to argue that a genuine conscious relationship with mortality is what actually allows people to make meaningful choices rather than endlessly deferring their real life. This offers a direct counterpoint to Duckworth's grit and Clear's habits, both of which implicitly assume sustained effort will eventually produce mastery and control. Burkeman suggests anxiety about time is rarely solved through better technique alone. But Burkeman's argument, too, has drawn thoughtful pushback. Critics note that radical acceptance of finitude can be easier to embrace from a position of relative security and privilege. Someone without stable income or safety may find calls to simply accept limitation less liberating. Others point out a tension with earlier chapters. If sustained belief and effort meaningfully shape outcomes, Burkeman's emphasis on limitation risks being misread as an argument against effort altogether. So why does a 2021 book still matter today? Because Burkeman's work arrived at a moment of genuine cultural fatigue with productivity and optimization advice, offering language for a feeling many people already had, that endlessly adding new self-improvement systems wasn't actually producing the calm it promised. It also connects directly back to Newport's concerns about attention. If your 4,000 weeks are genuinely finite, then how you spend your attention is the central question of what your limited life actually comes to mean. So we add this layer to everything built before it. Burkeman's contribution is perhaps the most humbling, a reminder that none of these tools were ever meant to grant total control over a life that was always going to be finite and genuinely limited. Perhaps that's the honest note of this journey. Personal growth was never really about eventually finishing or fully arriving. It's about making deliberate, honest choices about how to spend a genuinely limited number of weeks. Thank you, and see you next time.